Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can?
World population is expected to reach about 9 billion by 2050. The average rates at which we consume resources, such as oil and metals, and produce waste, like plastic and greenhouse gases, are about 32 times higher in North America, Western Europe, Japan and Australia than they are in the developing world. The poor of the world logically want to have our standards of living. But the fact is that the planet simply does not have sufficient resources to support such a dream.
In 20 years, the global middle class is expected to grow by 3 billion people. And we're on track to double the material resources we use by 2060.
We may see China's growing consumption as a problem, but the Chinese and many others are only reaching for the consumption rate we already have. Telling them they cannot or should not try would be hypocritical, immoral, self-serving, and futile, as it wouldn't work. What we should be trying to do is to make consumption rates and living standards more equal around the world, and to do it at a level the planet can sustain. The question is, how can we do this?
Decoupling means using less resources for the same economic output, using them wisely, and breaking the link between economic growth, resource use, and environmental impacts. When the economy grows and resource use does not grow at the same rate, this is resource decoupling. When the economy grows and the environmental impact decreases, this is impact decoupling. Decoupling is an opportunity for innovation, efficient resource use, less waste, poverty reduction, job creation, and economic development.
If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. we have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
In this model, manufacturers or retailers would remain the owners of the products. Maintenance and repairs becoming part of the deal. Even better if running costs, like electricity, were included. For companies, it makes sense to retain precious materials when their future availability is uncertain and when prices are forecast to rise. Premature obsolescence would be phased out, rather than designed in. Buying expensive goods up front would no longer be a necessity. It already happens with mobile phones and cars. Why not fridges, washing machines, power tools and so on? A system that works long-term by designing out waste and keeping valuable products in the loop, and maintaining or remanufacturing them, creating jobs in the process.
A sustainable economy is a dematerialized economy, where innovation is focused on delivering greater functionality with ever less material demand. One that can deliver more services with less stuff. One of the most environmentally destructive elements to the linear economic model has been its incentive structure that drives businesses to overproduce and people to overconsume in what has come to be called the consumer society. The industrial model was based on the mass production of tangible products that were pushed out to end users. Mass production meant that companies had to sell en masse, which gave rise to mass marketing and the creation of a consumer culture that went global with globalization. In this product-based transactional paradigm, there was a strong divide between the producer and consumer around the point of transactions due to the fact that both customer and producer had different incentives and motives that ran largely contrary to each other. Over the past couple of decades, with the rise of information technology, has come a new model to value delivery called the services economy. A services economy is one where the focus is on the service delivered, the actual outcomes of a process. It is based on the system's delivered functionality instead of the amount of resources consumed in the production of the product. By shifting the producer's revenue stream away from the production of products and focusing it on the delivery of functionality, servicization is a powerful approach for breaking the core dynamic driving the consumerist economic model. With servicization, ownership of the product stays with the producer, and its maintenance likewise remains their responsibility. In such a way, they are incentivized to produce less while delivering more functionality. The end result is an alignment of the interests of the end user with producer and sustainable outcomes for the overall system. Services are really about access. The idea that people want access to services instead of simply the ownership of products. This is why the services economy goes hand in hand with networked information technology. Information technology and online platforms enable us to easily and cheaply coordinate the exchange and temporary usage of resources, thus working to make access easier and cheaper than ownership. In this way, extra capacity can be created through more effective organization instead of actually producing more products. A sustainable economy would be one that is able to focus its innovation and resources not on producing more products, but on delivering greater functionality through the intelligent coordination of existing resources. Traditional thinking, institutions, and management methods that created the sustainability crisis will not solve it. As such, the development of truly sustainable global economy would involve a transformation in the deep structure of post-industrial economies.
Climate change is a result of our take, make, waste economy. And until now, we've looked at solving climate change largely by switching to renewable energy. We're replacing fossil fuels with wind and solar power at speed all over the world. But the truth is that the energy transition will only solve half the climate problem. It's like we've been reading only half the book, like we've been watching only half the movie. So what completes the picture? Transforming how industry uses materials and how we manage land. That is, transitioning to a circular economy. It's more than energy. It's about transformation. What does that mean? It means we address things before they become a problem and design out emissions before production even begins. We build an economy that eliminates waste and pollution, keeps products and materials in use, and regenerates natural systems. The circular economy can help address climate change by reducing emissions from industry, land use, and agriculture. So how do we make this transition? By businesses embedding the circular economy in their climate strategies and redesigning products and services. By governments setting enabling policies and putting the necessary infrastructure in place. By investors mobilizing capital towards circular economy solutions.
Changing the goal of the entire economy is a huge task. Of course, we can't do it all at once. But when we focus on game-changing solutions, we gradually make it possible for a new game to be played. To do that, we have to be able to tell the difference between a game-changing solution or just a new way to play that old game of more. Whenever I'm asked to join in on a solution, I want to know if it's transformational. Will it change the goal? To figure it out, I use the word goal. I want to know that it, G, gives people more power, taking power back from corporations to build democracy. O, opens people's eyes to the truth that once basic needs are met, happiness and well-being don't come from buying more stuff, but from our communities, our health, and a sense of purpose. A, accounts for all the costs it creates, including the toll it takes on people and the planet. In other words, it internalizes costs instead of externalizing them, as most businesses do today. L lessens the enormous wealth gap between those who can't even meet their basic needs and those who consume way more than their fair share. When I see a solution that does all that, or can be redesigned to, I'm in. And how about the new trend of collaborative consumption, formerly known as sharing? Sharing may sound like the theme of a Barney song, but think about it. It's a huge challenge to the old game. It gets us off the treadmill of more, conserves resources, gives people access to stuff they otherwise couldn't afford, and builds community. What's it look like? Bike share programs in major cities. Online platforms that let us share everything from our cars to our homes to camping gear. In my town, the public library system lends out tools. There's just no reason that every house needs its own power drill, creme brulee torch, scanner, wheelbarrow, bike pump when we can share. As transformational solutions like these gain traction, we will reach a tipping point if we keep focused on the new goal of better. Now it's time to build the solutions. Solutions that won't just change a few of the rules, but will change the entire game. Want to help? Come on, let's do it.